Hey, this is another video by PetRock. Today I'm working on my 03 Dodge Durango 4.7 liter. And as you can see, the giant plastic bag where my window should be. The window regulator broke. It's not the first time this has happened on this truck. The window regulator is made of a mix of plastic and metal, and the plastic obviously breaks. I've actually replaced this window regulator 3 times, I think, so far, since I bought this truck new back in 03. Today I'm going to start working on replacing the window regulator. So I've got the bag off. I've also disconnected the battery. So there are 5 Phillips head screws that hold this panel on. You got 2 at the bottom, about here and here, and then you have one right behind the door handle here, and another one behind the door handle there, and one up in the upper right hand corner. The one that's hidden is this one right here. The way you get access to it is just a little panel. You take a small screwdriver, try not to pry it too hard, and just lift in like that. And you got a Phillips head screw right there that you can undo. Okay, once you've got all the screws undone, next you can just lift up on the door slightly. Don't pull too hard. If it doesn't want to move and give way a little bit, then you probably missed a screw. So just keep looking, try to find them all. Okay, once you got it loose, you look inside directly behind the door handle. There'll be 2 metal bars right here and here. These are the actuators for the door handle to open and close the door. So the way you pop these off is, see if I can get my hand in here and show you on camera, like that. Then you do the same thing to the other side. Then once you have it loose, you lift up on the rod to disconnect the hook. Next, you start undoing your electrical connections. You have one over here on the right side for the small speaker at the top of the panel, if your car comes equipped with it. And then you have one here and one here for the door switch. You just press on the tab on this side for that one and this side for this one. Just press and pull. Like that. Now that you've got the electrical connections undone, you just pick it up and lift straight up to release it from the hooks. Next, you need to take the weather barrier off. From the factory, it comes with this sticky tar-like goo substance that'll just peel off. And notice how sticky it is. This stuff's reusable, so make sure not to get dirt or anything like that on it. That'll basically kill its stickiness, so just be careful with it. Peel it off as cleanly as you can, and then place this plastic aside in an area where you're not going to get the goo on here dirty. So now you have access to the window and the window regulator and the bolts. You got 2 down here, 2 up here, and 3 over here. These 2 are for the main, or 4 are for the main rail that the window slides up and down on, the window track I should say, and these 3 are for the motor itself. The way the window regulator works, I'll say that 5 times fast, is it's a pulley system. You have a motor over here that turns a wheel, and you have a cable that goes up and then down, and then you have another cable that goes down and then up, and they pull against each other. So when you want to bring the window up, the motor will spin and it'll pull from the top to lift it up. When you want to lower the window, it pulls from the bottom to lower it down. That means that the connection for the cable that's coming from the top has disconnected somehow. Either the cable broke or the plastic connector that it attaches to the window regulator housing with broke. And this is the 2nd or 3rd time I've replaced this window regulator, and in each case it's always been that cable breaking a little piece of plastic that it hooks into each time. So now you need to lift the window up slightly in order to get to that bolt and the corresponding one on the other side. The access hole is right here. So you need to lift it up slightly in order to line the bolt up with this hole over here. Okay, the easiest way I've found to keep this up is to raise it slightly by hand and then just stick a piece of 2x4 in there. That allows you to hold it up so you can unscrew these screws. They are 10mm bolts, by the way. Okay, once you have the bolts undone and the window loose, you want to raise the window up manually by hand, trying to keep it level so it doesn't get cocked one way or the other, because otherwise it'll just be hard to slide. So then you take a 2x4, this is about a 1 foot section, and you prop the window up inside so that you don't have to hold it and it doesn't get in your way. Okay, now that you have the window propped up, you want to disconnect the power connector for the motor. So the way you do that is you press a little button here and you pull on the right side to disconnect. And you shove it back through the hole that it comes through. So now it's time to start removing the window regulator. So I like to remove the main pillar first. You only need to loosen these 2 bolts and remove these 2 bolts. The reason being is that once you get these undone, you can slide this whole thing over and it'll just pop out. Okay, now that you've got these 2 bolts out and these 2 loosened, you can slide it to the side and pull it through the holes that are right here and here. And now this should be loose. Next, you want to disconnect the motor itself. Like the main shaft, you only have to loosen these 2 and remove that one. Now you can drop it inside your door. So next we've got to try to snake the window regulator out of this hole. So what you want to do is you want to try to get your piece of wood that's holding, or prop device, whatever it is, as far to the left as you can. And so then you can snake the window regulator out. And now for the unboxing. This is the window regulator I got from my local auto parts store. It is part number 741649. It's made by Dorman. This one is specific to the front driver's side door. Just contact your local auto parts store and they'll tell you which one you need. It's quite common. This one actually has a lifetime warranty on it. So even though I've replaced the window regulator 3 or 4 times, I've only actually paid for one of these once. So it's a pretty good deal in my opinion. So once I get this installed, I can take the old window regulator, wow, tongue twister, to my local parts store and they'll give you my money back. There's not much really to it. There's a bag, obviously. So inside the bag, which is sealed, you have more pieces of plastic and metal. Just like the one I just replaced. So one thing I like to do whenever I install new window regulators, they do come pre-oiled, but that oil doesn't really last that long, nor does it work very well. So what I do is I take some white lithium grease. I picked this up at my local auto parts store. This stuff is great for plastics, things that are sliding hinges, metal on metal, plastic on metal, things like that. The other benefit is it doesn't wash off. It resists heat very well, so it's not like it's going to ooze out or anything like that. So it'll stay on this part for pretty much till the next time I have to replace it. So anyway, I just put a little bit on the track, shoot a little down to the bottom, smear it around a little bit so it gets on both sides of the track. So this will allow the sliding piece that makes the window go up and down to slide a lot easier. Less friction. Window operates better, less chance of it breaking. At least that's the theory. So now let's go back over to the car. So now we're ready to put this thing back in the car. So now we need to snake it back into this hole. Okay, now it's easier to install the main slide in first. So you position it and put it in place and hook the 2 bolts into the holes here. You may have to raise the window by hand to do this. There. So now we got these 2 bolts in holding the main shaft in place. Now we got to take the motor and the 2 bolts that we left in loosely and slide them into this groove right here. Okay, so now that you've got at least holding, now you want to put the remaining bolts in by hand at first. So before you tighten everything down, you want to make sure that these cables in here are free and you're not going to have a restriction as this thing rides up and down. You don't want this, I don't even know what you call it, but this little track slide thing to catch on these cables and rip the cables apart. So you want to have a double check, make sure that they're not snagged on anything, that they'll move freely. So once you've verified everything's in place and these cables aren't binding anywhere, just tighten them down, starting with the one on the upper right. Now the reason for the starting with the one on the upper right is because this is just a straight hole. There's no movement right laterally or vertically. So you want to get this one in first, and this will locate the remainder of these bolts. Next one is the lower right. Then either one of these will do now. So next, do the same thing with the window motor. Tighten down the lower right corner one first, because that one is a locating bolt, and then you tighten down the other two. So now you got this tightened down. While you have access still, you want to snake your arm in here and grab the wire from the motor and stick it through the hole over here. Any cables that are going to be exposed to the elements, like these door cables and things like that, I have a habit of putting dielectric grease inside them so that to prevent them from corroding. It's just a good habit to do, especially if you live in an area where there's a lot of corrosion on things like rust and whatnot. This is a good idea. Just put a little dab inside like that and plug the connector back in. That'll make sure that that connection stays good and it doesn't get any rust or any other type of corrosion over the years. So now we have to remove the block of wood that's holding the window up. So you hold up the window, just remove the wood. Now you want to slowly slide the window down, keep adding force this way to make sure that the window is level. As it comes down, you want this black piece that's part of the window to slide into the little hooks on the bottom of this track right here. Like that. If you're lucky, the window regulator is going to come in already preset in the position to give you access to the two bolts. If they don't line up, then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take the window switch off the main door, plug it into these two connectors. You need both of them. Plug your battery back in if you disconnected it. Raise the window up so you can get access to the two bolt holes easily. Start them in by hand. You don't want to cross thread. If you do cross thread these bolts, you're going to have to replace the window or retap the metal plate here, because what you're screwing into are threads that are effectively part of the window itself. So you'll either need to drill it, tap it, put a helicoil in there, do I don't know what, or just replace the entire window. So just be very careful. You don't want to go down that route. So now once you got them finger tight, snug them down. So now you can test the window. So what I like to do is I just pop off the window switch from the door panel, and you plug the two connectors in. Then you reconnect the battery if you disconnected it. Put your key in the ignition. Ignore the beep. Sounds pretty good. No problems that I can hear. The window is moving up and down in a fluid fashion. It's not popping or sticking or anything like that. You want to listen for any weird sounds. You want to make sure that these cables don't bind up. So one last thing I like to do while I've had this door off is I like to lube up the tracks that the window slides up and down on. The one over here and there's one over here. The window is not sliding metal on metal or even plastic on metal. There's this felt insert that's in there, so you don't want to use any kind of grease or other kinds of lubricant. What I found is there's the same people who make PB Blaster make this stuff dry lube. It is what it says it is. It's literally a dry lubricant. Just spray it on. It comes out like a talcum powder or chalk, and you just spray it on there, get it all nice and lubed up. The window should slide up and down a lot easier than it did before, especially if you suffer from like a sticking window. So just give it a couple short, quick bursts. after shaking it up very well. And once you've lubed up the entire thing, then lower the window down and lube up the railings over here and over here. So once you've got them lubed up, run the window up and down a few more times to work it in. So now it's time to put the door panel back on. Okay, next we put the plastic barrier back onto the car, trying to line up the old goo marks with the plastic. Just get it on there and press it on. It doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure that the cables that need to go through it, for example this one here, this one comes on the outside, these come up and over, are lined up, and that these holes in the cable or in the plastic line up with their corresponding holes in the actual door, because this is where the door panel actually mounts onto the door. There are little hooks on the door panel that slide into these areas. If you don't have this goo on the door, you can use duct tape. You can use any kind of adhesive you want. Just try to find something that won't ruin the paint. Okay, once you have it in place and you verified that all these mounting holes are clear, you can plug in any connections that you need to that are available. For example, this one I have power mirrors, so there's a connector right there. And now we can mount the door back up. Now you bring the door panel to the door. You hook the bottom 3 plastic hooks to get it near. So now now it's loosely mounted. Now you need to connect any wiring connections, like this one right here for the speaker in the door. I still have the switch out of the door panel right now, so it actually makes it easier for me to install. Just pull the cables through so they don't get in the way and don't get caught on any of these hooks. So next you want to connect these 2 rods to their corresponding plastic latches. So you take the hook end and stick it in the corresponding hole. So once you got the rod in the hole, you pivot this that way and to get it to lock into place. Sorry, I'm not gonna be able to get this on film because it's difficult to do with one hand and balance the light and without breaking anything. So I'm gonna do this off camera. Next, you want to secure the door panel on the hooks that are inside. So you need to lift it up about 1 inch, press it into the door, push your body weight into the door, and then press it down. Now notice that the top of this sill actually slides into a groove right there, so you need to have that hook as well. Now you take the Phillips head screws that you took out at the very beginning and mount them back up. Make sure that if your screws don't line up with the holes, push down on the door panel, make sure that you got it all lined up. Also, don't screw all these screws in all the way. Get them in a couple threads. Just loosely fit them all before you tighten everything down. You don't want to have it like cockeyed a little bit and then you won't be able to get any other screws in. Okay, once you got all the screws in, tighten them all down, just snug them all in. And then you can take the window switch, plug it back in, just press them in. Then put it back in, nose first, into these little hooks over here, and then just press down. And it will snap in place, and that's it. Now once you have it all together, put the key back in the ignition and try your window, make sure everything's still working. So that's about it. I hope this video helped you out. If you liked what you saw and this helped you out, click like. If you want to see more videos like this one and others involving my wife's Mustang or my Harley or friends' vehicles that happen to stop by, click subscribe. Hope this helped you out, and